Hello. Okay.
Yay.
Yay, it's working. Well, good morning, everybody. Thanks for having us here. For those of you who don't know, my name is Carolyn Scott, and I'm Dean of Students, and I'm joined by Dr. Maureen Miller, who's our Director of Student Wellness.
So for today, there are a few things we want to make sure that we can cover with everyone. So first, to help y'all gain a clear understanding of the resources that we have available to our students, to learn how to utilize the resources and the tools specifically for faculty to help support our students in distress, and then to open it up for discussion about any questions and concerns that you may have when students are in distress and interacting with you.
Okay, so the Department of Student Support and Wellbeing, that actually is a department now, Student Support and Wellbeing, and it includes the Office of Student Wellness and the Dean of Students. And together, Dr. Miller and I focus on providing prevention and intervention strategies, as well as making sure that students know about campus and area support, the services and resources available on campus and in the area. Examples include overseeing that students have access to mental health counseling, emergency outreach and response, wellness programming activities, and communication strategies, oversight of our food pantry, administrative appeals, and student conduct. Those are just some of the things that fall under the Department of Student Support and Wellbeing.
So a little about my area. So the goal of the Office of Student Wellness is to focus on prevention, and our mission specifically is to foster a balanced and holistic approach to student well-being by addressing our 8 dimensions of wellness, and that includes physical, emotional, intellectual, social, spiritual, occupational, environmental, and financial, with the goal being that we're helping students identify and establish healthy behaviors in each of these areas now while they're here with us, that will hopefully be with them for a very long time.
And then my area as the Dean of Students is to provide oversight with regard to student intervention. So Maureen's prevention and I'm intervention. This involves the areas of student administrative appeals, student conduct, helping students understand their rights and responsibilities, complaints and grievances and how that process works, providing emergency outreach to students, supporting and collaborating with administration, faculty, and staff to ensure that student intervention outside of the academic arena is all that it can be and should be. And finally, student threat assessment. So I provide oversight for the Department of Student Support and Wellbeing, and I support our Vice President of Enrollment and Student Affairs as a member of his leadership team. So now that you know what Dr. Miller does and what I do, when you're facing a student concern, again, how do you know who to turn to? Once again, Dr. Miller and I have simplified kind of our roles contextually into 2 clear, distinct categories: prevention, building connections and skills to enhance well-being, that falls under Dr. Miller, and intervention involves at-risk identification and resource allocation to directly assist students in trouble or in crisis, and that falls under the Dean of Students.
So when a student is approaching a crisis point or may already be in the midst of a crisis, it is important for you to know what you can do, the tools that are available to help you, and who you can reach out to for help if you are feeling a little bit like this is over your head. So the first tool we want to highlight today is our faculty and staff student help quick reference chart. This includes information on common topics and concerns students may have, the contact lead for each area, and how to connect with this person either via phone or email. This can be found on the LSSC employee intranet under quick links. During the first week of class, Dean Scott usually sends out an electronic version of this as well, and we'll post an electronic version in the chat at the end of this session. Many of you have seen and used this chart before, and the alphabetized topics range from advising, behavioral and conduct issues, counseling, FERPA, student technology, student wellness, veteran military services, and among others. And we hope this chart continues to provide you with easy access to meaningful and helpful information whenever you may need it. So the second tool that we have for you today is called the LSSC Students in Distress Guide. This can also be found posted on the employee intranet under quick links, and then we'll also put an electronic copy of this into the chat at the end of the session. And this two-page guide assists you in navigating what to do when a student comes to you facing an emergency, a crisis, or a problem, as well as offering tips for distinguishing the situation the student is facing. So asking yourself, is this situation an emergency, a crisis, or a problem? And then depending on that assessment, the first page of this handout kind of helps you determine your next steps. And then the second page provides specifics on Title IX reporting regulations, including how you can provide care while understanding your reporting requirements. This also offers guidance on connecting students to campus and partner resources, as well as to local and national resources.
So now we're going to switch gears and talk about the resources at LSSC that can help. We're going to give you a very brief overview of the Student Assistant Program, the LSSC Care Team, the Student Affairs Emergency Response Team, the LSSC Student Emergency Grant, Student Accessibility Services, the Student Wellness Life Skills Canvas Shell, and LSSC's Lake Hawks Harvest Food Pantry.
So, if you have been at LSSE for a while, you're likely familiar with our Student Assistance Program, SAP, which provides free counseling support for our students. What you may not know is that we do now have two great service delivery options for students to utilize and to select. Thanks to a partnership with Better Mind, LSSC students are now able to take advantage of our 24/7 online counseling support, provided that they are credit-seeking students over the age of 18. And then in addition to our fully online support, our Student Assistance Program has a second option, and we will continue to offer up to 5 free face-to-face counseling sessions with our local provider, LifeStream. And this option is available to all currently enrolled students, including those under 18 who are taking credit courses at LSSC.
Okay, next, the LSSC Care Team. We want to inform you about what the Care Team does and how they can support you and your students. The Care Team is a multidisciplinary group of professionals at the college dedicating to supporting students' well-being and safety. And safety is the real key word. The primary goals of the Care Team include assisting identified students who are showing signs of distress, acting out, or facing challenges that are significant, serious, and could impact their academic success or personal well-being. The group utilizes research and evidence-based tools to inform interventions and follow-up strategies. They connect students with campus and community resources for help and support. We follow up with referred students to ensure that they're getting the support that they need and addressing concerning behaviors in order to prevent campus crises. This is what makes this referral very different from an early alert. As you can see, we have a QR code on the slide, to make it easy to use and fill out a referral form. This QR code can be found on the Students in Distress handout also. And again, we're going to put a copy of that in the chat at the end of the session. The next group is the Student Affairs Emergency Response Team. This was formerly known as the Emergency Deans for those of you who've been at LSSC for a long time. The Student Affairs Emergency Response Team is a designated group of professionals responsible for providing referrals, and information to support students, and consulting with faculty when we have a severe weather event or a local emergency or a community health crisis like we did during COVID. These staff members are empowered to intervene with campus and community partners to help coordinate the college's response to students who are experiencing distress as a result of these type of crises. They work to ensure that adequate support and resources are available to students as long as they need them. The team doesn't replace our typical college offices or departments. They rather serve as a connector of sorts and dive into complex situations that may require student advocacy across multiple offices, departments, or with external entities. And you can access this team by emailing Dean of Students at lssc.edu. So during COVID, all the contact tracing stuff came out of this group. The loaner laptop program came out of this group when students had to very quickly go remote and many didn't have laptops. You know, it was a finite period of time that we were able to act and provide additional support. So that's that group. And then the LSSC emergency grant. This is something that is so helpful to students facing a significant issue financially. These grants are designed to assist with a one-time unexpected event that causes an acute financial emergency and meets the following criteria. It's a situation that's unlikely to reoccur. There's no other financial sources available, and the need can be documented. Examples of the typical emergencies that students apply for this grant for are things like loss due to fire or weather, theft or accident, an unexpected medical or dental expense, a personal automobile expense. They only have one car and they need it to get back and forth to work and to campus, a sudden unavoidable interruption of income, you know, something of that nature. Emergency grants cannot be used for tuition, fees, legal fees, tobacco, alcohol, entertainment, credit card debt, or debt owed to the college. It's a one-time grant, and it is subject to limitations. The maximum a student can earn or achieve is $1,000. Funding for this assistance comes from the foundation, and students are not responsible for any type of repayment if the money is awarded to them.
So many students deal with physical, emotional, or learning issues that make college life challenging. Sometimes these challenges are temporary, and sometimes they are permanent. Often these challenges can be reduced or eliminated with additional support through the Office of Student Accessibility Services, or SAS, and you can contact the office by going to www.lssc.edu/SAS. We actually have our director of SAS, Ms. Alicia Hall, on the call today. We're happy to see her with us. So something that I'm really excited to also talk about, my student team and I developed our Student Wellness and Life Skills Canvas shell. And all students, faculty, and staff are enrolled in this shell, and it's found on your Canvas course dashboard. This shell does not have any assignments or due dates. Rather, this was designed to be a resource that students, as well as faculty and staff, can utilize at their own pace and their own time. And to get started, you can click on the modules section on the left-hand side of the menu to view all of the content and resources. It was built around our dimensions of wellness, around also as in addition to our biweekly health-specific topic. And we did create a video describing more about our shell along with a student testimonial and feedback. And you can check this out either on the homepage of our Canvas shell or on our student wellness website as a way to just help support our students during their time at LSSC.
And I'm going to put a plug in for the video. I used it yesterday helping a student who wanted information and support on eating disorders. And the video is really it's really geared towards the students and helping them maximize this canvas shell to get what they need. But it really speaks to them, and there's a student testimonial in it. It's really a great thing that you can share. So just go to the wellness landing page on the website and have at it.
And then the other initiative that we're really excited to talk about is our recently launched Lake Hawks Harvest Food Pantry. This is in partnership with Second Harvest Food Bank of Central Florida and Lake Cares. And this is a resource available to all currently enrolled students who may be facing food insecurity. Lake Hawks Harvest Food Pantry is a safe, confidential, and judgment-free space. Currently, we are open Mondays and Tuesdays from 9 to 12 here at the Leesburg campus. As I mentioned before, students must be currently enrolled and taking classes at LSSC. Students can take up to 8 items per day, and they can visit once each day that we are open. So in this case, Mondays and Tuesdays. If you want to help support our Lake Hawks Harvest, we do have a harvest wish list at the bottom of the webpage that you see on the screen. And your generosity really helps us to keep our shelves stocked with the items that students need most. And you can contact me to coordinate your drop-off, and I'll put my email address in the chat at the end of this session. So that was just a really kind of brief overview of the work that Dean Scott and I do and kind of how our roles overlap, and how we really want to be able to support, all of our faculty and staff in their daily interactions with students. So we'll pause there and I guess open it up for questions.
So if you wouldn't mind, I'll start the conversation with proposing maybe a student question or scenario, and then maybe you all can provide some guidance on what the best response might be, or one way to guide the students at least. So for example, if a student comes in and says, I'm sorry, my paper was late. Things have been really, really bad at home lately. Is there any way I can still turn it in? What should I take from that conversation, or I guess how can I use that as an entry point to help the student?
Sure. Well, first and foremost, you all do a great job connecting with your students, and you get a quick sense of, if someone is starting to show signs that things aren't well, like they're not attending class as much, they're, like you say, they're starting to submit late work. And I'm always impressed with how much above and beyond our faculty go to try and connect with the students and help them. So you all have policies, we understand that most policies are in the syllabus, and so definitely talking to the student about that. But I know that there are times that you make exceptions, and that's appropriate, right? And there are times that you don't. You follow your syllabus and you try and be fair and consistent with each student. In a student like that, where you notice behaviorally there are changes and it's a sign that the student might be starting to spiral, I would recommend that you talk to them about, have you thought about getting some extra support through our student assistance program? Depending on the amount of anxiety and or depression and or other things you notice, you might also talk to them about the SAS office. As Dr. Miller mentioned, it's not just about learning disabilities, and it's not just about permanent disabilities. Sometimes students face challenges that are temporary in nature, like they're going through a life crisis and they're starting to see a counselor. And so they may be able to connect with Alicia and her awesome team and talk about, the possibility of, are they eligible for getting some temporary accommodation? So those are just two things that come to mind from me. Dr. Miller, do you have anything you want to add?
I don't think so. I think that would really be kind of the recommendations, that I would support as well, getting them connected to either our counseling resources, if they're not aware of that, because then they can make the decision whether they, want in person or online, And then again, as well, kind of getting them connected to SAS to see, you know, the additional support they can get through that office as well.
Faculty often just email me and ask me to reach out to them too. Because students, usually it's like an onion. Once they start to open up about stuff, you find out that yes, they're stressed and they're depressed because all of these things are happening in their lives, right? And so sometimes it's financial, sometimes it's they're not getting their basic needs met, and they're really struggling and say they're moms with kids. And so you can see it's like I said, it's like an onion, and they need more than even just your typical pat response. They need really connection to community resources. And that's really where you can email me. And I'll typically, if with your permission, copy you on the email. And I start off very as gently as I can by saying, "Hey, your faculty just, you know, noticed that you're experiencing some difficulty at this time and thought you might benefit for some resources." And then I'll go into letting them know what's available to them at the college and in the community. So you can always email me too.
Thank you
Good
for that.
question. Yeah, you're welcome.
To piggyback on that, and if anybody else wants to jump in with scenarios that they get, please do. But I'm also curious, that makes me wonder then, as an instructor, if I was just to tell the student, oh, we have support services, you can log in to the website, that's probably a little bit more passive. And so I'm curious
Mhm.
kind of what the ratio looks like between faculty that connect you to the student in a more active, intrusive approach, but
Yeah.
versus the passive approach where a student finds you, either of you, on their own, and what that might look like.
So even when I reach out to a student, it is still somewhat passive. Students are always the pilot of their plane, right? We don't force anything on them. It's just a matter of saying, hey, there are people here that can help you and we all care about you. And here's some resources available. But at the end of the day, as I said, they're the pilot. They're in charge and they decide what they're ready to do, what they want to do, how they want to do it, when they want to do it. We're just making sure that they know that there are free resources available and that people do care here, that we're all invested in them being successful and we do care about their well-being. We got some hands up. Justin, I'm going to let you be the moderator.
Sure. Dr. Sue, looks like you were first up.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. G. Um, I just have a scenario that I want to share here. Like I have a couple of students who approached me with their concerns, sharing their daily struggles, earning with the ongoing crisis, and they also mentioned they are struggling to pay their tuition fees and have plans to drop out from the course. Um, so I was thinking about um, asking them to contact Ms. Scott, but what is the actual action step I should take as an instructor helping them to guide in this scenario?
Great question. Um, so again, there's a lot to that question. One of the things that it sounds like they're really struggling with is financially paying for their course. That was the first thing I heard. And so Jackie Bostwick is the director of financial aid. She's a great resource to make sure that the student, hey, have you followed up with financial aid? And if you're kind of getting stuck in the process and you need more individual assistance, I would reach out to Jackie. So that's one thing. Depending on what's going on with their life, they may be eligible to apply for an administrative appeal for a late drop and a full refund. Now, there are very specific criteria because we're dealing with money and we're a state institution and we get audited. But the next thing that you could do is say, have you met with your academic advisor to talk about whether you would be eligible to appeal for a late drop in refund? because with a student who's struggling academically because of all this life stuff and financially, having that tuition burden for that course or how many courses they need to drop or withdraw from, you know, getting that appeal and that tuition refund or not owing us money for that class can be a significant release for them, right? A big burden lifted. So those are just a couple things that come to mind with that scenario, but I'm sure you guys hear that one a lot, a lot. So thank you for asking that question.
Thank you, Ms. Scott. Thanks for the
Yeah, of
explanation. Yeah, thank you so much.
course.
Jason,
Yeah,
looks
I
like you
just
were
have,
next. Oh,
I
sorry,
have the,
Nancy.
Hi,
I haven't,
Nancy.
hi, I haven't, a situation that happened a while ago, a couple of few semesters ago. And it was a, young man, well, it wasn't a young man, it was a man who was in the military. And so he was a veteran and he had a crisis in class. What I was wondering, and things that I learned from it, is that I don't know if the veterans register any of their medical conditions with anyone so that you have some prior knowledge of if things are going to happen or could happen. But what happened with him, he was in one of my classes and he basically broke down. He was very uncomfortable. He was distressed. And the conversation that happened after class was that he was out of medication and he didn't know what to do. He was beside himself. So we did get in contact with the foundation at that time and he spoke to someone. So someone was able to help him. I mean, I didn't follow up unless he kind of spoke to me and he said more to me. I kind of said, this is what I think. How about ask this person or try that person? And he was able to get his medication. In other words, they did get
Yeah,
it for him.
yeah.
But
That
I,
emergency grant, Nancy, is so helpful to so many students. So whenever I get a chance to put a plug in, you know, we all want to donate and help with the foundation, but I always say food insecurity and student emergency fund, please, because it really makes a difference. And you're giving a great example of how. Yeah.
well, like I said, I was wondering, is that with the vets, I guess, or with, I mean, I know with SAS, we're aware of mental wellness in terms of them having to validate, you know, what they're asking for assistance with. But I was just wondering, is that true with the veterans as well? Do you have prior knowledge or do they let you know that you have an awareness if they're in
So
you know,
again, students have to self-disclose at the college level. And so if they want accommodations, yes, they register with the staff office. But if they choose not to, then we don't know, right?
oh,
And
okay.
we do have assistants, like we have advisors who are trained specifically, academic advisors, to help with all the paperwork and supporting veterans. We have someone in the enrollment services area to help them because they have very specific needs, especially if they're using military benefits. So sometimes the advisors in particular will hear about things and they'll try and make sure that they make connections for that student, like, hey, you can get extra support through the staff office, or hey, we have additional counseling support, you know, to help you because this is going to add a new layer of stress to your life taking on classes, you know. So the academic advisors really are a tremendous resource too. I can't say enough about them. Oftentimes they're the first person that's going to hear about this stuff outside of you all, right? You all hear it too. I see you and the academic advisors very much as like uh, a husband and wife, right? You guys walk beside the student while they're here and get them connected. But the foundation, man, that scholarship is so important.
Thank you.
Hi, Jason.
Yeah. So it was interesting when I saw this meeting invite come up about this subject and students crisis, because it just happened the other day. I had an older student come in, definitely in some crisis, had some issues with their son and some mental health issues and all that. And I really get, like, she just needed someone to sit down and talk to and listen, and it hasn't affected her schoolwork yet, but we could kind of see it leaning that direction. So I listened to her for a little bit, and I, it's a very difficult situation with her son, a lot going on, and it kind of turns into, the whole life like story of other things, and it can spill in. And I just took, the 15 or 20 minutes to listen and that. And then um the big thing, and this is with their professors, is like you definitely want to talk to your professors in, either during their office hours or catch them out of class when you're like one-on-one, so you can explain in detail what's going on. Let them know that this happened now, and it's starting to have an effect on your ability with some of the schoolwork and stuff, and talk to them now. And then I shared all the resources, and luckily her son, who's having the issues, was already at live stream getting some mental health counseling. So when I shared that, it made her kind of feel good. Oh, you guys, life, kind of made that connection, because obviously the community resource that she's using for her son's there, and she said, I'm going to be getting counseling. I mean, it's like a pretty, but for me, it is, and advisors and professors, you see it all the time, right? Like, life happens outside of college, and so my big thing I tell students always is talk to somebody when it happens, or don't wait 2 months after it happens to start this discussion. Ask us, talk to us. And she left, and I do feel that she felt better. And I said, next week before class starts down here at Four Corners in the evening, come in a little early and we'll sit down and see where you're at. So it is a constant of a lot of things, right? Now, some students get themselves in certain academic, and they have an excuse that I'm not doing this or that, but was it really, so it's, but as advisor and professors, yeah, we kind of are the front line sometimes to help these students get them to the resources. And I think as soon as I sat her down and was like showing her the website with like all the services, I think that extra, not just sending a link here, go find it, just that extra 2 or 3 minutes of listening, and that, I think it really went. And then she knows that I care, like I really do care. And so it's like I want her to be successful. She's been so successful. You're going through a lot, and you know, making that connection. And then with SAS, it's like constant. Like, so a lot of students come in, don't disclose beforehand, like Karen was saying, that they need accommodations. And then we sometimes we find out halfway through a semester they should have had this done prior to classes start. So we need to make sure we get those things done and in place now for the next semester, etc. So I just wanted to kind of share. It's kind of interesting, that crisis. And then I get, when Justin sent the meeting, I was like, oh, I got to join this, because then, kind of just to share. And that, sometimes it's just listening to them and let them get, get some of that emotion out, and letting them know it's going to be okay. And to have those conversations, to talk to people, in a private setting, office hours, after class, not in front of a bunch of, things like that. But, I just wanted to share, because I just thought it was kind of interesting. Like, that crisis just happened, and the next morning, hey, we got a we got a meeting about these crisis kind of, situations. So that's why I want to just join and kind of share that today, kind of how every semester I deal with a couple every semester.
Yeah.
Some more extreme than others, but
Yeah.
if we get them what they need, and then they actually follow through and utilize the resources we have, things usually get better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for all you're doing, Jason. I'm glad
Thank
you
you all.
joined
I
us
appreciate
today.
everybody. Yeah.
Yeah, and for sharing.
Are there any other questions or any other scenarios anybody wants to bring up?
While people are thinking, I just want to echo something Jason mentioned. The website's been really redesigned. And, if you're not on there all the time, you wouldn't know that. But there's a specific section for student resources, and each resource has a card with a real cool picture and graphic and a link to their page with lots of information. So, you know, even if you can't remember all the different web addresses, if you can just get them to the student resource page, so much is there, including things like FAFSA and the SAP, the emergency grants, all of that is on there, even how to report a concern. That's all on that page. We really tried to make that page comprehensive because let's face it, when someone's crying in your office, it's really hard and distracting, and it's hard to remember now what web page was that on. But if you can find the student resources landing page, you're going to find everything you need in one place.